All praise due to Allah, and His praise and blessings and peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and his followers until the day of judgment. My dear brothers and sisters, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he received the revelation for the first time, in a very famous story that most of us know and familiar with, when he received the first revelation, when he saw Jibreel and was giving the message, the Qur'an, he ran back to his beloved wife Khadija radiyallahu anha wa ardaha. رجع إلى خديجة يقول لها زمليني زمليني. He went back to his beloved wife Khadija, scared, terrified with what we have just seen, and that experience that he never ever thought of. I think it's not usually would happen to anybody to receive or to see an angel and he will give him a revelation. So it was something terrified him for a moment. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to her and said to her, I'm shaking, and give me something that I can be covered with so I can come down. طمنته وأذهبت عنه الروع. She came to let him come down, and she started giving him positive word to make the Prophet ﷺ come down. Then the Prophet ﷺ told her what exactly happened to him. Then she said, I have a cousin of mine, his name is ورقة بن نوفل, وكان رجلا قد تنصر في الجاهلية وعنده علم من علم أهل الكتاب. She said, I have a cousin of mine who is a scholar, who's in a scholarly level. He studied the book, he studied the scriptures, and he used to be a Christian or a Jew. Before Islam, he was exposed to these books, and he basically are knowledgeable persons about the scriptures, so he might will benefit us in this regard. So she took him to Waraqa, her cousin, and he started telling Waraqah bin Nawfal what he has seen, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he told him about Jibreel and what Jibreel did to him, and he described him to Waraqah bin Nawfal, the cousin of Khadija radiallahu anha wa ardaha. Then after he finished, Waraqah bin Nawfal said, and listen carefully, I know most of you familiar with this story, but most of us really sometimes do not reflect upon what is commonly known to us. He said to him, he said, إن هذا الناموس الأعظم الذي كان يأتي موسى. This is exactly the same angel, the great angel, who used to come to Musa, used to deliver the wahi to Musa. Then he said, يا ليتني أكون فيها جدعا ليتني أكون حيا. I would love to be alive and to be young and strong in the time when your people will force you to leave, or will fight you and will force you to leave your city. قال يا ليتني أكون فيها جدعا يا ليتني أكون فيها حيا إذ يخرجك قومك إذ يخرجك قومك. When they will force you to leave, when they will force you to leave. Then he said, the Prophet ﷺ, imagine a person in that time, in that culture, leaving my home, my tribe, my city, for what? He said, أَوَ مُخْرِجِيَّهُمْ. Are they going to force me to leave? They are my cousins, they are my relatives, they are my tribe, they are my people. Are they going to? And he's not only just a person, he's a person from a very well-known tribe, very well-known family to everybody in Quraysh in Mecca at that time. To turn against him, this is something maybe he never thought it would ever happen. Then he said, are they going to force me out? They are going to force me to leave? أو مخرجيهم قال نعم. Yes. فإنه لم يأت رجل بمثل ما جئت به إلا عودي لئن أدركني زمانك لأنصرنك نصرا مؤزرا. He said, no one ever will come with what will come with the same message of Musa and Isa and all the prophets. No one ever came with this message unless he has enemy that they fought him and they hate him and they dislike him and they were against him. So you will have enemy, and those enemy are the one who's going to force you to leave Mecca. Then he said, if your time will come, when you declare that message, when you start preaching people this message, when this time will come, I promise you, if I'm alive, I will support you until you will gain a great, clear victory. Reported by Bukhari. This unforgettable story, this story which is commonly known for average Muslim, I believe, there is a great lesson I think Muslim community should reflect upon. Number one, I think one of the first lessons that personally I will learn from this story, the important role of the wives in their husband's life. She's such great wife that she stood beside her husband and she gave him the right advice. She directed him to the right direction, to ask the right people. She has always been there for her husband. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, Khadija, لَقَدْ آوَتْنِي حِينَمَا طَرَدَنِ النَّاسِ لَقَدْ نَصَرَتْنِي حِينَمَا عَادَانِ النَّاسِ لَقَدْ صَدَّقَتْنِي حِينَمَا كَذَّبَنِ النَّاسِ. Khadija, she's the woman who always been there for me. When people said that I'm lying, she was telling me, saying the truth. When people raising doubts about me, she always supported me. She always been there for me. And that's what any person would seek change, would seek real change in society. He needs a great woman beside him, because without that he will not prevail. And an important role of your wives in your life is very important to gain any success in your life. Also, it is very important to learn also to consult your wife. So many people, that is the last things in their mind that they will ever consult sometimes their wife. They consult everybody and they forgot to consult who is at home. And in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he started with her, and not only to complain or to tell her about, he was asking and seeking advice and consultation from his wife. 3. From this story we learn the importance of the scholar's role in any society. When there is a calamity, when there is a confusion, you go to the people of knowledge. And that's exactly what happened here. That he had something he was confused about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in that time, and his wife, they are not familiar with it. Where to seek the answer? To the people who have the knowledge of the book, the knowledge of the revelation, the knowledge of the Sharia. And they went and they asked them. It's so many times we feel that when we have a problem with confusion, we don't try to seek the advice or the mashura of the Ahl al-Ilm, of the people of knowledge, 4, and I'm going fast. I want you to reflect upon each point that I might be mentioning here. For yourself, you can, I think, develop more points later on when you think about this story, or the points I'm raising here. It will help all of us to think more deeply about it later on. But there are certain points I'm going to emphasize on them more than others. Number 4, the role of the youth in any community. In any community. Did you hear him when he said, "Ya laytani akunu fiha jada'a"? That I wish to be at that time strong and young when they fight you, when they force you to leave. Jada', al-jada' huwa ash-shab al-qawi. That the person who is young and strong. And that shows you the importance of the youth in any movement, in any community, in any society, in any country. A country without youth, a society without youth, a community without youth, it will never prevail, will never accomplish anything in their life. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of misconceptions about the youth and the role of the youth. So many times we don't really give them the opportunity that they deserve. So many of us still look at youth, our youth, they look at themselves as non-responsible, irresponsible people. But when I'm in the States, I always go to the MSIs, the Muslim Student Associations, the universities, and I talk to the university students. And one of the things that it hurts me the most, sometimes I hear them saying, Sheikh, we're just kids. What that means? You're not kids. You know what? Your son who's 15 years old, your daughter who's 15 years old, she will be asked in the Day of Judgment exactly in the same manner as you will be asked. She is mukallafa and he is mukallaf like you, exactly 50 years old. There's no difference between all of you. Anta mukallaf amam Allah, which it means a person being given responsibility to carry, and you will be asked about it. Also, sometimes we think that youth, by default, should not be religious. Like messing around. And she's too young for hijab. He's too young to make hajj. You know, even it becomes part of the culture. Like hajji, it means old man with beard, white beard. You know, just like that. It's based, it's in our mind now that all people are maybe the religious people. But young, it's something not really commonly seen. And that's not right. Mu'adh, when you think about the Prophet ﷺ, so many of us think that the Prophet surrounded with a bunch of old people just with him. No, most of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were youth. And we talk about youth, you talk about from 15 years old all the way to 40 years old. That's considered youth. I see some faces start smiling. Yes, you're still youth. Even if you are 38, you're still young. So basically, Mu'adh radiallahu anhu ardah. Who knows who's Mu'adh? Mu'adh radiallahu bin Jabal. The Prophet ﷺ said that he comes in the Day of Judgment leading all the scholars. يأتي يوم القيامة يقدم العلماء برطوة حجر في مسلم أحمد من حديث عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه وأرضاه. That he said he'll come ahead of all the scholars in the Day of Judgment. The most knowledgeable person in halal or haram. Mu'adh became Muslim when he was 18 years old. He died when he was 32 years old. You're talking about the one who collected the Qur'an, Zayd, and responsibility, that he said, Wallahi, if I were given responsibility to move the mountain of Uhud from one place to another, it will be easier than the responsibility I was given to collect and document the Qur'an. What is his age in his 20s? You're talking about Al-Bukhari, the great Imam of Hadith, and he's 14 years old, and he's teaching the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. You talk about Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah giving his fatwa when he's still before the 20s. And Imam Ahmad, he used to give fatwa, and his fatwa used to be documented. That means that he has already students, he established himself as a well-known scholar in his field before he has a single hair in his face. كان يفتي ويحدث ولم يبقل بعد يعني ليس في وجهه حب شعرة واحدة. So, talking about youth, that they are not responsible or they are too young, that's not true. That's why he said they wish to be youth at that time, because they have a great role in any society that they can play. Number 5, the lesson number 5. From this story, it's very important to prepare yourself for the future. You know, with this economic crisis that we all face in the world, one of the big questions that came up, where the leaders, they didn't anticipate this? Why they have not talked about this before, of this crisis? How come nobody planned for this? How come there's nobody have anticipated this and have already a plan to deal with it when it happened? Planning for the future is one of the most important things to succeed in your life. They said, always expect the good and plan for the worst. You know, see how he prepared him for the future. He said, when they will force you to leave, when they will be fighting you, when you will have enemy, he prepared him that in the future, yes, it is a bright future. It is very good. You have very good future, but also prepare yourself for the consequences of your call. That's why in the Prophet ﷺ Sunnah, in the Qur'an itself, a lot of things telling the companions about what will happen in the future. For example, when they are in Mecca, Allah revealed to Muhammad ﷺ, سَيُهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيُوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرِ in Surah Al-Qamar, talking about the battle of Al-Ahzab, which will take place very later on. The Prophet ﷺ, in so many ahadith, you will see people asking, Ya Rasulullah, what will happen in the end of the days? The Prophet himself, he told us about a lot of the sign of the Day of Judgment. Why? To prepare yourself. It is very important to plan for the future. It's very important not just to live day by day. It is to know what is next, what is I have to do next, and what's going to happen to me. Also, when he told him, لم يأت رجل بمثل ما أتيت به إلا عودي. There is nobody ever will come with what you are calling people for unless he will have enemies fighting his call. That raises the big question why they hate us. Sometimes you ask yourself why there is so much negativity, why there's so much animosity in some people's heart. You know what? No matter how wise you are, no matter how gentle you are, no matter how nice and soft you are, you're still gonna have people just hate you for the sake of hating you and not liking you. We're not supposed to make enemies, but we have to know how to live with the existence of enemies. You have to know that this will happen. As long as there is truth, there is falsehood. As there is light, there is darkness. And what happens when light comes? Darkness goes away. So that's why this will always be a struggle on the face of this earth. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا شَيَاطِينَ الْإِنسِ وَالْجِنِّ. That every and each prophet has enemies from human and from jinn. From human and from jinn. Always the truth expose the falsehood. Truth always remove the falsehood. That falsehood strike back and struggle to survive, to exist while there is the light of truth shining all over the earth. You know, the truth always prevail, have higher hand, upper ground. That's why there is always a struggle. There is always people envy the truth and the people of the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us how to face those enemies. إن تصبروا وتتقوا لا يضركم كيدهم شيئا. Ya Muhammad, if you have sabr, patience, and taqwa, to struggle with that falsehood, struggle with your enemy, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you from their animosity. And listen to what he said in the end, which is the 7th lesson. أنصرك نصرا مؤزرا. I will support you until you gain a great victory. This is the attitude that you want to see the Muslim. It's not like, you know what, I'm not sure, yeah, I'm there. No, this man committed to the end. 100%. It's not just somebody give you maybe a pound and say, you know what, you go on your own. You guys do it. You're the master to take care of everything. No. He is not just a customer. No, he wants to be a partner. He wants to give victory to this prophet, to the message of Muhammad ﷺ, to the last moment of his life, to see that message already achieve the success that he wished. An old man, he knows that he might die before he see that great victory, but he will do everything possible, everything that he can offer, that he can do to make sure that this message will be developed. You know, this man said this before the Prophet ﷺ started his da'wah. What about me and you? What about he and she? What about all of us? We already saw the Prophet ﷺ's da'wah came and delivered. Are we going to do the same thing? أَنْصُرُكَ نَصْرًا مُؤَزَّرًا. Are we going to stand for this religion and support it, to be at least understood, to be at least seen that it's been respected, at least to be understood correctly, to see that people have an open heart and mind to accept it and to follow it, feeling the responsibility of carrying this religion and practicing it and delivering it in a practical format before verbal way. It is one way of giving support to this religion. Learning the deen, it is one way of supporting this religion. Establishing the unity and looking for what cause unity among the society and bring us together, one way to give support to this religion. Strengthening our economy as a community, our politically, from also political perspective, it is one way to give victory to this religion. Being around the scholars, supporting them, it's one way of supporting this religion. Giving da'wah, it is one way of supporting this religion. Always praying to Allah, that Allah support the religion, those who are carrying it. It is one way of supporting this religion. Donating for the sake of Allah, supporting your institute, one way of supporting this religion. My dear brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimin. O who you believe, have taqwa and don't die in any status other than the status of Islam. I think it's very important, it's very essential for us as a Muslim community today to ask ourselves a question, and I consider this the question of the year. It's a big question that every Muslim should ask himself this question, especially those who are living in the West, especially for you living in England. As a Muslim community in England, I want every one of us to ask himself this question. Even a visitor like myself, I should ask myself what I have contributed to the future of Islam or the future of my religion here in England. You should not just live and die and you have not contributed anything to the future of Islam to this country. You know, I have a short message also related to this point to all of us. I think if we would like to be a contributor to the future of Islam and Muslims in this society, it will be in the following point, as a closing point. One, it's very important to strengthen our masajid, our institute that exist, our schools that exist in the society. Not only by building more masajid, expanding the masajid, making it more comfortable, that's one area. But more important than that, organizing it. Making it goes according a professional standard. We have to raise our standard in the way we conduct our business inside the Muslim community. We are responsible to plan right what is the role of this masjid 10 years from now. What's the plan that this masjid has or this institute has in 5 years? Are we going to achieve these goals? Do we have a system in place to see if we are prevailing, if we are contributing, if we are developing ourselves or not? Two, we have to give a great attention to the youth. I think we have to pay a lot of attention to them, males and female. We make sure that we not only use them, as unfortunately I see in so many organizations, they use the youth. No, I want them to take the youth as partner in the work. Give them responsibility. Let them take the lead. Let them take the leadership position. And for the youth, work hand to hand with the older generation. Three, we have to invest in humans more than investing in buildings. We have to care a lot about training our leaders, training our youth, training, and I will keep repeating this word until the end of the day. It's the most important thing, investing in human. Four, I think we should start talking in practical format about how the Muslim community be integrated in the big society in a way that they contribute to the strength of the society in general. Isolation is not going to take us anywhere, and also we have to be a positive contributor whenever we go. We have to be partner in finding solutions to the national problems that you're facing. Five, I think it's very important to care about the da'wah to the new Muslims, to the non-Muslims, and to care a lot about the convert, to the indigenous in this society. Give them a lot of attention, a lot of support, educating them, then giving them a major role to play in the future of Islam in this society. I think also we have to strengthen our religious leaders in the society. The shuyukh, and I'm part of that movement, I think with the new generations, we must know that we need religious leaders, that there is no barrier of communication, no barrier of culture between them and the next generation. We have to strengthen our political leaders and institutes in the society to make sure that our voice heard correctly, represent the true Islam, the modern message of Muslims, not only to represent one group of Muslims in the society. I think it's important, as it's important to talk about this, economically to strengthen our society as well. Encourage your son, your daughter, to be in different professions. It's not right that all the Muslim community, we see them only in IT or doctors. And most of them, there's so many other professions we want to see the Muslim in it. Lastly, make sure that you show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are a righteous person. You know why? Because if you are righteous, your children and the children of your children. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَ صَالِحًا. If you are a righteous person, because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring good to the next generation that comes out of you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us